Welcome back to my watercolor channel. Today I paint a mysterious forest with a swan taking off into the air. I wet the paper first with a spray bottle and then I sprayed it with a big brush from side to side. I used the colors of turquoise blue and some upper rose, as well as some deep yellow and upper rose, and then as well as turquoise blue and some lemon yellow. I add the first layer, which is very light at the top of the upper half of the painting, and then as well as some of the purple. Both colors are mixing nicely together as the painting is slightly tilted. And it's important to keep the layer quite light. Then I add some stronger pigments and stronger purple and turquoise blue to the bottom half of the painting where the ground is, to create a little bit difference in the color, and then also some stronger purple with more of the upper rose, and then I have another purple with more of the turquoise blue. Here I add more of the upper rose color and then spraying it to the ground. So it has a little bit of a turquoise blue in it, and then at the bottom it looks more purplish because the blue colors are much stronger. I take off the excess paint above the swan and as well from the middle of the swan, and then I continue to add some brushes and which a little bit further away, and here as well I have different strings or different colors which are quite medium strength and this little bit stronger purple, and then just using some turquoise blue as well. And then adding it above the horizon line. And those brushes a little bit further away, so I wanted to create some distance, but in this case it is quite important that the paper is still quite wet. And then here a little bit more of the purple. And a little bit, I believe, some trees at the back, so a bit higher. And then adding as well some lines to the brushes or to the background, so they look a little bit more like a further away standing trees, and then above the swan as well, that the swan later pops out much better as it remains a bit whitish. Here more of the blue color, and as well adding more lines to create more trees. The upper half of the painting is nearly dry, so I continue to work with the lower half while the paper is still wet. So I just add a darker layer or stronger layer of the turquoise blue. And having here a bit more interesting structure, don't be afraid to use stronger pigments. It's easy to work as the paper is still quite wet. So basically here I use a lot of the wet to wet technique, and then adding some of the stronger pigments of the turquoise blue above the horizon line as well. So now I have two kind of distances in the landscape. And then adding some salt, so it gives a nice structure, as I don't want to do too much on the lower half anymore. So it's more a little bit of abstract, mysterious forest. And I continue with the tree So here I use as well some of the purplish, red purplish, and using a much thinner brush. I have to admit that I needed to practice the branches ahead, so it's much easier when adding them to the painting, and I recommend to do it to see how the brush reacts and what kind of branches you can create. I'm not very detailed with the trees and mostly to remain the same color as I have mentioned before, so it's really just like a mysterious purple forest and having this orange background. And I just vary with the strengths, so having here a little bit more of the blue purple and then having more of the red purple, just to create, for example, some light at the side on the trees. It gives a nice variety. And then adding more of a darker purple, especially towards the ground. But here I really press the brush quite tightly and move around when I create the tree tops, so it's not really just a blob of paint there, and really it goes into the direction of abstract as the trees and the bushes a little bit further away. So the main attraction is basically the swan. And then here more darker colors underneath and this one, and then after I have basically done the top of the trees, I just add the trunk, so it is a bit easier to do, and then if I want to have more trees I can add them later on. But here is just focusing now more on the trunks and on the branches as well. And I don't want to add too many of the branches, which sometimes I do. So I try really to focus not to add too dark branches and not too many. And I use a bit darker colors as well, so adding more of the bluish color or turquoise blue to the purple mixture to the upper rows and having it much darker. And then try to add more and more branches. While the first layer of the branches has dried already, so I can add a darker layer at a later stage and then a little bit more of the leaves, and so it kind of like gives a better idea of okay, those branches are a bit further away and then a bit closer. I continue with this one, so now I have a stronger orange of the same colors I have used before, and I add it onto the beak. And then I use a very light layer of the bluish colors and spread it. So the point is to add more of the darker colors underneath the wing, underneath the feathers, so the flight motion can be seen much better. So actually needs a darker color, while most of the body of the swan remains relatively white, and then adding a bit more of orange to create a balance as well. Then adding to the foot of the swan some darker colors, so I added a bit more of a Payne's grey, and underneath this one more of the darker purplish, as well as adding very thin brush, so very dark Payne's grey to the eye. And then continue with the wing, because I was not happy that it's not coming out that well. It's very pale. And then adding more color to the foot as well, and then to add here and there some darker bits of paint just to emphasize the structure of the wings. Okay, thank you very much. I was very fast painting. Thank you for watching and remember to subscribe. Bye!